I realize I kind of left you all hanging, not posting a video for another 3 weeks after sharing a video titled Psychosis came back. And so I wanted to take a minute to share that I am okay. I've been doing well, just kind of really focusing on getting back on track with ketogenic therapy and my health in general. Something I do want to start off with saying though is just a really big thank you for all of the incredible support that was offered so generously from so many of you in response to the last video where I was sharing some difficulties I had been facing. I think in the video I mentioned feeling like maybe I got lazy with my approach to my medical intervention ketogenic therapy, but you were also very helpful in helping me to reframe that away from that idea of what happened to, more kind of sinking into complacency and how that is a really kind of human thing to do and navigate. I really appreciated the acceptance and understanding of my humanity as being involved in factors that contributed to some of my symptoms returning, and then also offering support in terms of getting back on track. So thank you. And then there was a lot of other comments kind of highlighting or exploring a realization from this experience of just how impactful and effective ketogenic and metabolic therapies are and can be. And I think I realized that again too, and it was really reaffirmed for me how important it is to take this seriously as a medical intervention for my schizoaffective disorder. And kind of in that regard too, it may also have been a helpful experience in terms of remembering the illness that I am working so hard to manage and treat. And then a lot of you also pointed out too, which I really appreciated, that a small period of minor symptoms, again, coming back does not at all take away from the 1.5 years that I did not experience any symptoms. And I'm already back on track and in a fairly symptom-free space again. And so really kind of getting some perspective on all of that and, the broader picture here of still really being in remission and having this new way to manage it that feels a lot better for me. So I shared in the last video that I was on a little family road trip to Drumheller, the dinosaur museum town, with my family when kind of the more psychotic symptoms started to happen.
What did you find?
A dinosaur fossil.
What? It's a ball.
And again, I speculated in the last video as to why this may have been. I don't know if it was imbalance from not supplementing, if it was a virus or stress that triggered this all. I don't really know what happened, but something happened that threw my system off, and I've had to be really intentional about getting it back on track. So I'm going to go over the big things that I've been focusing on in terms of getting back on track with this as a medical intervention and getting back to a place of stability and no symptoms. So first and foremost, I got back on top of my supplements, and I also added extra doses of NAC and glycine, as well as some additional acetyl L-carnitine until I was able to get my ketones back up. And I also added ashwagandha. I've also been taking L-theanine kind of as a PRN or as needed if I'm experiencing any type of anxiety or needed a little bit of extra help. I am still experiencing some tough stuff around that every now and then and some more energy issues, but I think that is more hormonally based. I can maybe share more later on about what's going on there too. I went back to tracking all of my food and the macros involved in that, so fats, proteins, and carbohydrates, and staying on top of keeping to really strict ratios around that just to get my ketones back up to a higher level to hopefully help get myself out of this more compromised state. So I adjusted my macronutrient ratio to 2.5 to 1 for a little while, 2.5 being the fat to 1 protein and carbs ratio. And of course, I kept my net carbs to below 20 grams maximum. I made a lot of fat bombs, and I really just tried to get my fat intake back higher. I really tried to focus on getting enough and good sleep as well. Staying on top of a regular sleep schedule is really, really helpful for me, and it kind of always has been. And so that was something to kind of get more intentional about as well. And kind of along that same vein, getting back into regular exercise and incorporating movement throughout my day. And it really all just kind of came back to getting back down to the basics of ketogenic and metabolic therapies. I think, again, that idea of complacency as a human element of something that is easy to fall into is kind of where I went after 1.5 years of implementing this and not really having to think too much about it by the end of that year and a half. But I definitely found myself in a place where I really needed to get more intentional about it and bring it to the forefront of my mind with everything I did throughout the day as well. And something really fun that happened in August was Rob and I had been planning a big ultra distance trail run to celebrate our 5-year wedding anniversary. So about 7 years ago, shortly after we had first met, we did a backpacking multi-day hike along this trail called Skyline. It's near Jasper, Alberta. But then 5 years ago, we actually also got married in Jasper, Alberta. We got married in this lake just outside the town, and it was wonderful. So for our 5-year anniversary, we decided that we wanted to go back to Jasper and celebrate there, and also do a single day, I guess it ended up being 47-kilometer trail run across the Skyline Trail. But this was my first, kind of big, well, both of our first kind of endurance effort on keto. And it was right on the shoulders of this difficult period for me. Wasn't totally sure how my system was going to handle that or navigate that, but we decided to just give it a go anyway, take it slow, really chill, and yeah, it ended up being really amazing. It was 47 kilometers and over 1,600 meters of elevation. We had about a 7.5 hour moving time, but not the elapsed time. We took lots of stops and we were generally pretty slow moving, but really took the time to enjoy it. That said, I did struggle with some pretty major gastro issues, which I think was as a result of not being able to handle the intense fat bombshells that we had created, because there was lots of coconut oil in it and it was just too much and resulted in great distress for me. But aside from that, keto didn't really affect our ability to do that kind of effort much at all. In fact, maybe it was actually helpful that I was able to just kind of stop eating and just focus on electrolyte and water intake, and I was fine to finish the run just with that. Probably as a result of being in a state of ketosis where my body could easily switch to just fat burning. During this run, I did also, though, experiment with some other forms of fueling. So I took in 3 of the 19 grams of slow release carb UCAN gels, energy gels. And I also took 2 ketone IQ, ketone ester shots. Those seemed to be fine. They helped at various points, and yeah, it was great. For future endurance efforts like this, ultramarathon efforts, I would just want to work on figuring out dialing in nutrition a bit better while on keto, figuring out what kind of fats I can intake and what that could look like. But again, like I said, it was mostly kind of a zone 2 run, and so I think that it was actually fine to just really not take much in at all and just kind of ride on my state of ketosis where I could just fat burn for the whole time and then refuel again after. And then it was also really cool to get to go back to the lake where Rob and I got married 5 years ago, and to get to kind of reflect on what this journey has looked like.
We made our wedding party stand in this for our ceremony.
It was way hotter that day.
Yeah.
We've shared, or we've touched maybe briefly on some of the challenges that have come up in the last couple years, year and a half, that were completely unanticipated elements of healing through ketogenic and metabolic therapies. I think inherently it really brought to surface, or maybe made more space to really look at and try to figure out and work through and process all of the ways that my illness has showed up in our life and impacted our life and our relationship. We have a video from our wedding where I'm sharing my vows, and in those vows, I even talk about my illness in my wedding vows.
I promise to continue along the path of growth with you, to being a united team with you when enjoying life together and when facing life's harder moments, to continue trying to tackle my illness openly with you.
And I guess it makes sense, but it is also kind of wild to just reflect on and really think about how intertwined my illness has been with our relationship and our life, and how that kind of relationship our relationship and with my illness has also changed and evolved over time too, especially in the last couple of years. And again, I think that you would assume that that's all positive change, that my illness doesn't impact me in the same way or as much as before, but it has been really tough figuring out how to adapt and grow through these big changes together. It was nice to take a minute to just kind of reflect on our relationship and how important and how big of a role he's played in my life and in my healing. And I hope vice versa as well, but I'm just really grateful for Rob and who he is in my life and his incredible love and support through everything. And then the rest of August was just kind of soaking up, making the most of the last bits of summer with my kids, with my family, getting to devote my capacity to connecting and spending time and bonding with them, which was really, really wonderful. But now I mentioned briefly that I'm still contending with some hormonal issues.
You're hiding it well.
Thanks. Look cool, right?
Yeah, you look cool too.
I can't move my eyes.
Can't tell.
I've talked on this channel throughout the last year and a half, couple years, about how ketogenic therapy also really positively impacted my PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome, and subsequently my menstrual cycle regulating and whatnot. But with the hiccup that I shared about a month ago, I don't know if that was also interplayed or what's going on, but I have not had a period now for like several months again, and it's just not in a good place. I think that it is on track in terms of regulating my like temperature trends and stuff that I can tell with my Oura ring are starting to look like it is trying to get back on track, and I'm about to maybe have a period again and start back up. But I did have an appointment with a women's specialist physician who I was referred to by my family doctor, and it was kind of funny. I think I fell back into just really hoping that this doctor would just heal me and fix my problems that I'm experiencing from a hormonal perspective. And Rob looks at me before I head off to the appointment and he goes, "We're back to that now," in reference to my notion that the doctor is just going to heal me and whatnot. And so that was helpful in terms of regaining some perspective about, okay, yes, she can offer some guidance, but it is more of a holistic thing that I kind of need to take ownership at looking over too. And she was really upfront that, her training as a medical doctor really centers around offering medication as an intervention, but that she was, in support of me exploring other facets of what it means to improve this element of my health and manage it from different perspectives. So she gave me a prescription, I think for progesterone, to kind of hopefully help with the mood dysregulation that happens in the luteal phase. We'll see if I need to take that, but I'm also going to explore things, I think, like acupuncture and whatnot, and just kind of try to figure this out from a holistic and, more intuitive place, just trying to really explore and figure out what is ultimately going to help me improve my quality of life the most and be sustainable. And so that is kind of a general update on what's been going on, where I'm at, and kind of letting you know that I'm doing okay. Sorry for dropping off for a few weeks there. Something else though that I do want to just take a minute to touch on in this video as well is some really exciting new research that has just been published. It is the results from the first ever peer-reviewed pilot study of keto for depression. It came out of the Ohio State University and it was led by Dr. Jeff Volek, and it was looking at the use of ketogenic therapy for college students experiencing major depression. The results were pretty incredible, and I'm just so excited to share them with you. I'm going to provide links in the description of this video to places where you can learn more, to the actual study, and I really want to direct you to a video that Metabolic Mind just released on it too. It moved me to tears, and this is just really important work that I'm so excited is being solidified by science now. That's been a big criticism throughout me sharing my experience of healing this kind of from an anecdotal perspective through ketogenic therapy. And so, I'm really excited that science is now kind of coming forward and rolling out in a way that backs this up as well. So thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you for following along throughout this whole journey. And as always, wishing you and your loved ones good health. We'll see you in the next video. Bye.
Ha ha ha!